You know, this show is a membership show, $3 a month. Join our membership club at our website, libertyneversleeps.com. You click on the donate button. You can donate once. You can donate every month. You can donate 3, 4, 5, any amount you want. One-time donation. We are supported by our donors. Every time you donate money, it goes to buying ads. We've got another ad buy-in next month. By the way, our ad buy-in during last month, our ratings increased 101% with a 34% increase in direct listenership. It works. Funding this show works. If you want to hear hard-edged truth about what's going on in the Mideast, this is the show for it. We talk about the psychological aspects, what motivates people, and what the solutions are, unlike the peoples and pundits at Fox News and CNN who pick a side and say, oh, these guys are wrong. Israel has a right to blow everything up. No, the Palestinians are wrong. Israel is wrong. No. I'm going to tell you how to solve it, what the solution is, and what's going to happen next. If you want to hear more of it, $3 a month. Speaking of money, everyone's talking about, you know, the United States freed up $6 billion, and that's why the attack happened. Well, yes and no. They've been planning it for years. This is not something that they came up in the last few weeks. This is not the result of the $6 billion deal. It's the result of direct money going to the Palestinians, though. No question about that. Trump stopped it. Trump backed out of the United Nations, cut off all funding to the Palestinians, said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're funding terrorist nations. Biden said, we're going to do this. It was Joe Biden that directly supplied Palestine with 75 million taxpayer dollars during his term in presidency. They did it through the United Nations to support the new nation of Palestine. Because Palestine is really a bunch of tin sheds. All these cities. You look at the Gaza Strip, it's just a shanty town of cheap, thrown up, all concrete buildings. It looks like Eastern Europe on a bad day. Looks like a Stalinist camp, which practically is. So they need money. Well, I don't disagree with that. Money was meant to use to build things like power plants, pipes for water, roads, bridges, proper buildings for its people, parks, essentially cities, because all it is really an encampment in Gaza. So the United States, as well as other world countries, France, Germany, most of the United Nations, supplied them with all kinds of food, money, cash, support, humanitarian aid, and said, go build your nation. Make a better tomorrow. Here's a seat at the table. Here's your flag. They came up with a flag. You now have a country to build. There is no reason to go to war with Israel anymore. Well, it's apartheid state. You hear AOC, oh, it's apartheid state because the Israelis won't go. Okay, the Israelis aren't giving you. What about the rest of the world? Why do you think Israel built a wall? Why do you think Egypt built a wall? Because they didn't do that. They continued to shoot off rockets and blow things up. You're not giving us what you got. That's really the argument of the Palestinians. We don't have what you have in Israel. Well, that takes time. And that takes what? An industrious and productive people, which you are not. The money that we sent them was tagged, can only be used for construction purposes. Building dams, building bridges, building water supply, pumps and pipes. Like the $6 billion deal. Can only be used for humanitarian aid and whatnot. Well, what happens is two things. They take the money and they do use it for humanitarian aid, but they take money that they normally collect in revenues and then they use it for buying weapons. And they bought them from Russia, China, and Iran. Our mutual enemies. And they are an enemy of the Palestinian people, whether they know it or not. But then they took the money and they said, well, we're going to buy all these pipes. because we need water to all these homes. A lot of the homes, they don't even have flowing water in most of these homes in Palestine. They're basically a concrete jungle. And then they took the money, bought pipes with it, and then took the pipes, cut them up, and made them into rockets. That shows you the mentality of the Palestinians and Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran. They're going to use whatever money you give them to blow things up. It doesn't matter if it's tagged or not. They'll disguise it or they'll figure a way around it because they got religion on the brain. They're not dealing with reasonable people. They're crazy that way. They have an emotional control problem, impulse control. I call it impulse control problems. They can't help themselves. All the Israelis, look at Tel Aviv, it's a beautiful city. Look at Haifa, it's beautiful. We want it. They took it from us. No, the Jewish people built up that region since 1948. 1948, the west side of the Gaza Bank looked the same as the east side. Israel looked the same as Palestine. A lot of shanty buildings, a lot of concrete bunker house apartments kind of things. But since 1948, what have the Israelis done? They have been a productive people. They have been an industrious people. They have built their cities into gardens. Look at the Saudis. Look at Riyadh and some of these other city sites in 1948. They're basically a dustbin, a desert city, maybe a building or tall building or two where they did some commerce or trade or dealt oil out of. Look at it today. It's a paradise. It's literally a paradise when you see these cities. They're gorgeous. I would love to go to them if it wasn't for the instability of the region. They've used their money in the proper way. Capitalism. It's the same problem that we have with the Russians. It's the same problem you have with the Chinese. Why do communist nations are all dark at night? Because they don't use the money in a proper way. They're not industrious people. The Palestinians have taken a cue from the Russians and the Chinese rather than from the Western powers. They're not going to be industrious. They're not going to be productive. They're going to kill. Impulse control problems. And they don't seem to realize who their real friend is and who their real enemy is. And neither do the American people or the people living in Europe. They don't. They don't realize what this is all about religion and about faith and about who it is. And I have said this about the American people. You want America to be nice, you need to be better people. You need to be productive. You need to be industrious. You need to remain ethically within guidelines. Donald Trump knows that. But how do you say that from a podium? How do you say that the Palestinians have impulse control problems? How do you say that the Palestinians are the problem? How do you say that Hamas is the problem? Without just coming out and saying, Hamas, terrorists. No, that doesn't solve anything. He's brilliant. The book, The Art of the Deal, it's not about how to make a deal. It's how to get along with people and how to make them your ideological slave, I guess is the best way to put it. One of the things that he's good at is he always makes himself better than the people he's talking about by praising them. And it's what you do in a business deal. For those of you who have never negotiated $1 million deals, and I have, the last thing you do is say, oh no, you're wrong about this. That's the last thing you do. You say, man, you are smart. You are able to see the problems in this deal where I couldn't. They're acting like the better man without doing it. They're demonstrating to the other person across the table that they're the better man. Boy, you're right. You're smart. You know really what this is all about. I didn't. Maybe we should do some of it your way, but I got to do it my way in this part. And then they'll come to terms. And then the person you're negotiating with, oh yeah, this guy knows. He's my bitch, but it's the other way around. He's manipulated you by saying that. Donald Trump praised Hamas. Oh, those guys were smart. They knew when to do this attack. They know that this is the right time to launch their attack. No, he's not praising them. He's making them their bitch, his bitch. That's what he's doing. He wasn't insulting the Israelis. The Saudis did the same thing just the other day. Lindsey Graham bitched about it. The Saudis said the Israelis, they're the problem, the Saudis. No, Saudis are smart. They talked about Israel in negative terms and then had a meeting with Iran. See, Iran, we're good guys. We agree with you. These Israelis are the problem. Oh, yeah, these Jewish people, you can't live with them. But here's how to do it. It's brilliant. And, of course, the mainstream media, which is, they're making it all about Trump. Oh, Trump insulted Netanyahu. And Trump is praising Hamas. No, he's not. He's insulting them. They don't get it. I keep telling people, read his book. He explains it in much better terms than I do. He knows how to deal with Hamas. You go to the negotiating table. And then when they get to the negotiating table, you say, oh, you guys are so smart. You guys are so great. This was a brilliant attack. But we can't allow it anymore. This is what's going to happen. And then if they still act up like Kim Jong Fat Kid in North Korea, you know what he says to them? You know what? I got a button. And it works, unlike yours. We carry real guns. Our tanks carry real missiles. Those aren't wooden guns they're carrying marching orders. That's what they. By the way, that's what goes on. When you see those North Korean parades, they're carrying wooden guns. They don't have any real firepower, and he knows it. But he's not saying to you, you got no firepower. No, what he says is, my button works. You see what he's doing there? You guys are really smart, but my button works. That's why he had the correct answer. Oh, DeSantis shows how limited his depth is on how to make deals. Donald Trump was out of line. Should never have praised Hamas. He wasn't praising them. Don't you get it? He's belittling them by praising them, by doing it in that way. Listen to the tone of his voice. Listen how he does it. Listen to what he says. Oh, you guys are really smart. That's not what you say. And of course, everybody's buying into it. Oh, Trump's a Russian stooge. No, he's not. Not at all. Just the opposite. Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, those are the stooges. They hand $75 million to a terrorist nation who does not renounce terrorism. He does business with the Iranians who do not renounce Islamic extremism. Hands them a check. Hands them a check for $6 billion to get 6 people out of Iran. They're the stooges. John Kerry was left waiting for hours before he met the Russians. Hours! The guy waits hours. What a fool. 10, 15 minutes and you're out. That's it. You go to, Russians set up a meeting at 6 o'clock, 6:15. Hey, listen, you're too busy today to talk. Obviously, you're not here by 6:15. I'm out of here. And you let them stew and you let them worry about what you're going to do. Biden will give you $75 million. We'll give you this million. And Germany will give you that. And France will give you this to build a nation. Stooges. Idiots. Because never came with the condition, you got to turn over Hamas leaders before you get a check from us. No, you can't sit in the UN unless you abandon Hamas, unless you abandon Hezbollah. And you can't just say we abandon them. You got to turn them over. It's like the Pakistanis. They knew Osama bin Laden was in their country. They lie when they tell you, oh, well, we didn't know it was an extremist. No. The Pakistanis knew Osama bin Laden. They just harbored him. We didn't say anything. We didn't go to the Pakistanis and say, turn him over or we'll blow your nation to hell. That's what you got to do. You have to deal with them like they have power, even though they don't. That's the key. You deal with the Palestinians in a certain way. You deal with Hamas in a certain way. You understand that there's a difference. Palestinians are guilty of harboring Hamas. They have to pay the penalty for that. But they don't pay the penalty when you just blow buildings. They don't pay the penalty when you go to them and say, you guys are the enemies of the West, and you guys are terrorists, and you guys are lousy people. No. Because you won't come to the table and get anything accomplished. The goal is to get something accomplished, a lasting peace. Trump knows this. That's why he was able to negotiate a deal where we weren't. That's why he went and immediately recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and placed our embassy there. Oh, he's just going to infuriate the Palestinians. No, he did it for a reason. We got to move on. I want to talk about what's going on here in the United States. We'll be right back.